fellow tribers, this is Matt, aka Cygnus Orb, and I'm just doing a quick video tutorial on manually loading your samples onto the Electribe sampler. So there's a couple of things you need to do. The first and foremost thing is you need to have a memory card, obviously. And one important note, do not put your memory card in or take your memory card out while the Electribe is powered on. So the first thing you need to do with any memory card, any fresh memory card, is you need to format it on the Electribe. You cannot format it under a PC or Mac and then use it on your Electribe. It actually has to be formatted on the Electribe unit itself, and we'll start by showing you how to do that. So to format your memory card, it's pretty simple. You go to Menu, and you scroll over to Data Utility, which is option 28 of 29. Hit Enter, and you scroll over, I believe it's 12. Will be Card Format. You hit Enter, and it's going to say, are you sure? You hit Enter again, and once you hit Enter, it's going to format the card the way the Electribe needs it to be formatted. Okay, once you have your card formatted, what you need to do is put your memory card onto your PC or Mac. I'm using a PC, but if you're using a Mac, you just follow the steps you would do in Mac, and it'll pop up. Korg, System Volume Information. Go to Korg, Electribe Sampler, Sample and System. You want to go into Sample, and this will be where you keep all your samples. And what you would do is pull up whatever folder you keep your samples in. I keep all my samples backed up on desktop. That way if I have any crashes or corrupt memory card, I always have a backup to restore everything. And you just either select all, drag and drop them, or you just go to copy and then go over to the other folder and hit paste. So I'm not going to paste them or drag them and drop them myself because it's a duplicate file and there's no need to overwrite them. And then as simple as that, your samples are ready to load on your Electribe. But before we go back to the Electribe, I want to talk real quick about the categorization here. The reason I have all of my samples categorized, actually there's a couple of reasons. One is that the Electribe can only see up to 100 samples on the screen. So if you have, say, 200 samples you just drag and drop into the sample folder itself without creating subfolders, 100 of those will not be seen by the Electribe. They'll basically be invisible, and as far as the Electribe is concerned, they don't exist on the memory card. Now, I don't know if Korg has updated that or not with any of the recent firmware updates, but in my experience, you can only see 100 samples at a time. So by creating subfolders, you can have 100 samples in here, 100 samples in there, and you'll be able to see them all when you load them. And another reason is because it makes it very simple to find the samples. Like when I say I want a string, I can go into strings and I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know what's in there. So I'm not just sitting there digging through sample after sample trying to find the one that I'm looking for. It's very easy to find. It makes your workflow a lot faster to categorize everything. And another thing I want to mention real quick is you see I have the all sample files here, the .all files, and this is what loads up when your Electribe starts. So you can go onto the Korg website and download a blank .all file and put that into your sample folder, and that's going to load up when you start your Electribe, and that'll give you a clean slate to start with, so you don't have to delete all the factory settings or the factory sounds. And another thing you see is I have two .all files here. And the Korg Electribe sampler allows you to save multiple .all files, and you can rename them, and basically you can create sample banks or sets that you can load up on just like you would load a sample. You just go into the same folder and you load the .all file instead of a sample, and it will load all of those samples associated with that .all file. So even though there's a time limit, I believe it's 260 or 290 seconds on the Electribe sampler, you can have virtually unlimited samples, as many as your memory card can fit, and create sample banks and you can just keep loading different sample banks and have unlimited samples virtually. And one more thing I want to talk about, which I'll show you at the end of the video on the Electribe. So a lot of my samples are sped up. A lot of these string sounds, they're originally 15 seconds or so long, and if I get them down to, let's say, 3 seconds, I can load 5 times as many samples. Let me give you an example here. You can tell that's sped up. I think that's like a 2-second sample or something like that. And I'll show you that near the end on the video here. And I'll also make a video specifically for that. But once you drag and drop all your samples over, or you copy and paste them over, you're ready to load everything up on the Electribe sampler. So let's go back to our Electribe. Now, to load your samples onto the Electribe, it's a pretty straightforward process. I'm going to choose a part right here. Turn off the effects and stuff like that. Okay, so I have the part selected that I'm going to load a sample to, and what you want to do is you want to hit Menu, Enter again, Data Utility, hit Enter. 9 is the option, which is Import Sample. And as you see here, our samples are all categorized, as we talked about. Categorizing your samples makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to load a random one. We're going to go to Strings, and we'll go to Soundtrack. And then you simply select a destination. All user samples will start with S, and it'll go from 01 to, I believe it's like 400 is actually 999. So you can do up to 1,000 samples of your own. And so I'm just going to pick a spot. Looks like slot 15 is available, so I'll use that. It says import sample, it already did. Then the next thing you need to do is with your oscillator, you need to choose your sample. So I have my part selected I want the sample on, and a little trick is if you hit shift while you go through oscillator, it's going to jump 10 samples per click, and you're going to get there a lot faster. And you can see soundtrack is there. So if I go to keyboard, I have my sample loaded. Now, another trick that I mentioned earlier is all of my samples, the strings and things like that, are sped up. I do that because it saves space and I can load more samples that way. And what you do is you use the pitch glide to bring it back down to the pitch that it needs to be. And you have your sample loaded. You're ready to play around with it. Now, the most important part and the thing that people seem to forget, and before we go into that, you can hear how long this sample is. This sample was originally about 15 seconds, and I think I took it down to about 3 seconds. So it saves me a lot of space on there, and I still have 2 octaves I can drop it. Solo, in fact. It's almost inaudible at the very lowest octaves there, the lowest keys. So the most important thing when you load your samples, and this seems to be something a lot of people forget to do, or they're unaware that they need to do it, they turn off their unit after they load their samples, they come back later and they say, hey, where'd all my samples go? You need to export your samples. And to do that, you hit Menu, go back to Data Utility, and it's option 11, Export All Sample. And as you can see, it's just saving the .all file, which is what loads. And it takes a second. It's not too long. But once you get it saved, you can power off your unit, and when you power it back on, your samples are going to be in the slots that you left them. Another thing to note is, let me go up an octave. I have my sample here, but if I change tracks and I come back, that sample is gone. So when you load a sample into a part, you also have to remember to write it. Otherwise, when you change patterns, you're going to lose that sample from that spot. So you have to export all your samples, and of course when you're working on a pattern, you have to save that pattern, and it will store where that sample is at when you want to use it. And so that's really all there is to it as far as loading your samples. It's very quick, it's very easy. You can use a program manager, but this is how you do it manually. I prefer to do it this way myself, mostly because the sample managers I use give me a corrupt .all file, which causes issues later. When you try to export all samples, it freezes up your Electribe and it causes it to crash, and you have to reboot the whole thing, and you actually lose all your data. So manually, I think, is the best way to do it. It is a little time consuming, and again, you can get a blank.all file from the Korg website, so you can load up a sample bank that is completely empty, no factory sounds at all, and then you can just start loading your own samples. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video, and there will be more tips and tricks to come. Thanks for watching, and keep on sampling.